Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Tiffany's MS Plus. So, I shared this channel with a lot of my friends because I know some people with MS, and if they're friends of mine, then they're interested in it, at least because they know I have it. And my non-MS friend, Relena, came back to me and said, "Hey, I've got some questions. Do you mind if I ask you? I love your videos." And of course I said, "No, please let me know, because I don't know exactly what to talk about, and I don't know what people know and don't know, and at least for the next few videos, I'm going to be answering her questions. And hopefully it'll answer some questions that you may have and offer you some insight into the MS as well, specifically my MS. I had mentioned in a previous video that I had Bell's palsy, and that was one of my first symptoms. So she asked me if I had Bell's palsy and then got MS later, or if they're related, or can one lead to another, or whatever. And so I'm going to tell you my MS story. So around 2002, I had a bout of Bell's palsy. The Mayo Clinic says that Bell's palsy is a condition that causes sudden weakness in the muscles on one side of the face. That's exactly what happened. I woke up and I just felt like one side of my face, I think it was the right side, was a little weak. My mouth was kind of droopy, my eyelids were kind of droopy. I just felt like it wasn't working right. And so I think I went a few days and it didn't get better, and it got more and more annoying, as you can imagine. And I noticed that one side of my tongue felt numb, and when I stuck my tongue out, it leaned to one side, and just a bunch of crazy things. Well, it irritated me enough that I ended up going to the ER with it because it was very scary. The ER wasn't helpful at all. I ended up sitting on a gurney in the back of the ER for a long time. And ultimately, somebody said, "It's not a big deal. It happens. It'll go away in a few weeks." Okay. It did, and I didn't have any lasting effects from it that I noticed, so I kind of just forgot about it. But of course, I got a huge bill from the ER for that visit because I didn't have insurance at the time, and that was a reminder for quite some time, even after the Bell's palsy had disappeared. But I'll go into healthcare and insurance and all of the issues with that in a different video, I promise, because that is something that I have a lot to say about. Anyway, after the Bell's palsy went away and I'd forgotten all about it, about a year later, I had a bout of what I was going to find out was optic neuritis. Basically, my right eye went blind. I could see a pinhole through my right eye, and it was surrounded by a blurry black fog. But that was it. Up until that point, I'd had very good vision, I thought. And in fact, I am a big reader, so that was very upsetting. Of course, I could still read with my left eye, so it wasn't the end of the world or anything, but it was still very irritating. I ended up going to a ophthalmologist for that, like some kind of neurological ophthalmologist, who specialized in um, diseases of the eye because I was so freaked out by that. But after doing his testing, he was like, "Oh, it looks like your optic nerve is a little inflamed, and that happens sometimes. It'll go away on its own." So I was like, "Okay." And he was like, if it's really bothersome, you can wear an eye patch over it and just not use that eye so much." I was like, "Oh, okay, will do." So I went about my day, and after a while, it too disappeared. And I could see normal again, though I did notice that my eyes seemed to get a little more tired than quicker than normal, maybe. So I didn't read quite as much or quite as long because, like I said, I was a reader and I would read for hours and hours and hours up until the wee hours of the night. Anyway, the optic neuritis kind of ended that, or lessened it at least. But again, it went away and I kind of forgot about it. About a year after I had the optic neuritis bout, I noticed that I would get a tingly feeling in my left arm and my left leg going down to my foot. And it was annoying, but not really bothersome. It was very much like when your foot goes to sleep or something. I would just get it, like shake it and kind of forget about it. So it was much more annoying than it was troubling. But one morning I woke up and felt completely paralyzed on my left side. Like I couldn't feel it at all. I was in bed and I tried to step onto my left leg because I laid on the left side of the bed and I couldn't bear weight because I couldn't even feel my foot. So that was really scary and freaky. And as soon as I was able, I went to my primary care doctor and was like, I know that there's something going on. This is absolutely not right. My primary care doctor referred me to get an MRI. I guess I'd kind of done a little research because I had a grandmother who had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and later she was undiagnosed, but I did a little research on that, and I was like, I'd had these episodes in the past, and I kind of had a suspicion that it might be a mess, but I wasn't going to say anything about it, and I really didn't. I didn't know what the doctors were going to find. Anyway, my primary care physician referred me to get an MRI and scheduled it, and the MRI place called me and said, "Okay, you're going to need to bring $1,500 and then we can do the MRI for you." And I was like, there's no way. I was a 20-something. I lived my life from paycheck to paycheck. I partied quite a bit, and so I didn't have $1,500 on hand at any time. And I was like, forget that. I might as well schedule a trip to the moon. It's the same. So after I called my primary care doctor back and I was like, there's no way I can schedule this. I don't have $1,500 I can pay in advance. So after a lot of groveling with her and her submitting appeals to my insurance, because at that time I did have insurance, I was finally able to find a place to get my MRI done and be billed for it. This was probably in January. After about a month, I got a call from my primary care doctor. And, well, actually, it was probably from her nurse. And they said, "Oh, we want to refer you to a neurologist because we noticed something abnormal on your MRI. And we just think that you should see a specialist." Okay. I have something abnormal that's showing up on my brain. That really worried me and freaked me out. But I was like, yeah, okay, I definitely want to see the neurologist. When can I see them? Mind you, this is February or so. And she was like, well, we've scheduled you to see the neurologist, and the first available appointment was in June. What? I've got an abnormality on my brain, and you're telling me that I can wait until June to find out what's going on? No. Nope, not at all. Thank you, I said, but I'll find something else. It just so happened, and I think this is so weird, that as I was going through this, another guy that I worked with was going through the exact same thing. And maybe he was a few days earlier than me. Anyway, that kind of, I want to say it bonded us, but it really didn't. But it did cause a lot more interest between us. Like, what's going on with you? What did they tell you? Etc. Anyway, I found out through talking with this guy that they told him they suspected multiple sclerosis, and he got an appointment with a neurologist, and it was like in 2 weeks or something. So I called the neurologist that he was going to see, and that's how I got my very first neurologist. It wasn't thanks to my primary care doctor. It wasn't thanks to anything that my insurance did. It was because this other guy had something and happened to find this neurologist. So I called and scheduled an appointment and could get in to see that neurologist within a couple weeks. She put me through a litany of tests. I had more MRIs done, and I had a lumbar puncture done. I had these tests called evoked potential tests, where they hooked me up to electrodes and ran an electrical signal up and down my arm to see how it was being transmitted. Because I don't know if you are aware, but everything that we do is because an electrical signal that is manufactured in our brain is sent to down our neurological system or through our nerves to wherever it needs to move or make any kind of process, and that's how we're able to do it. So anyway, after all of these tests and everything, it was in April, on my mom's birthday, that I was finally diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Whew! It was a long process, probably at least 2 years from when I first noticed a symptom. I've since learned that MS usually it takes a while to be diagnosed because it happens, or we notice things that happen because of it, like the Bell's palsy, the optic neuritis, well in advance of any doctor saying, hey, let's look at this. But it's due to lesions or scar tissue on our brain or in our nervous system. In my case, it's mostly on my brain. I have a few scar places on my spine, and they also do MRIs of that. And it was probably scar tissue that caused my optic nerve to become inflamed. But the MRI is what sees that scar tissue, and that's why you are diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that's what it actually means. You have multiple scars in your nervous system. They have no idea what causes them. They have suspicions, but basically, regardless, it's all because your immune system decides that, hey, it needs to attack parts of your body that protect the your neurons. They're wrapped in like a protective sheath. Think of it like a power plug for a device. You know, there are wires in there, they're wrapped in a protective coating, and with MS, your body, your immune system starts attacking that protective coating and lets those wires be exposed, and they can then no longer transmit the signals to get to allow you to function as easily. So that's my MS story. And I hope that clears up what MS is and especially how it affected me early on. And maybe, like, if you are new to MS, it might clear up some information for you. And maybe my story will help you feel like you're not alone. If it took a few years or a few months or heck, even a few weeks for you to find out if what was causing your system to go haywire was MS, then again, you're not alone. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, because I'm pretty much an open book as far as my MS goes. I'll see you tomorrow or next week or whenever I next feel like I'm recording a video won't wear me out too much. So goodbye and take care of yourself.